We get into some leadership dilemmas when a bad situation can develop when competency is low and attempts to compensate with increased use of authority, usually responsibility is avoided. Okay? So your competency here is low, you're not quite good at your job yet. This can occur when you get a new job, or you're starting something new, or you're just not as good at your job as you should be, or you haven't gotten to that point in your life where you have the skills to do something yet. Okay? Your competency is low. You generally tend to compensate with authority. Okay? So you give more orders, you tend to be more autocratic in your leadership style, and generally people like that avoid responsibility. Take the authority, say, you're responsible for this, giving out orders, but then in the end, don't take responsibility for what they've done. You can be a frustrated leader, can develop when competency is high, but authority and responsibility have not been kept up. And the organization very well may lose a competent leader. Okay, so say you're extremely competent, but your job, you're not given the authority you need to act. Okay, so you're told, go ahead and change this organization, go ahead and run this organization, but you're held back at every step by people saying, no, you can't do that, no, you can't do that, no, you can't do that. That's a frustrated leader. And finally, a good leadership decision, or a good leadership situation, will deteriorate when balance disappears. If a leader's responsibility increases, intrinsic or extrinsic, without an increase in competency and authority, the leader will be ineffectual, but feel bad as well, and will be blamed for the failure. Okay, so this is where you bite off more than you can chew. Say, hey, I'll take responsibility for that. I'll do this, but your competency isn't up to the level where you can actually follow through on your commitments. A good leadership situation can deteriorate quickly. Okay, so that's the CAR model. Competency, authority, responsibility, and whatever you try to do in your leadership situations, try and balance these. Don't bite off more than you can chew with your responsibility. Okay? Make sure your competency is kept up to an equal part, and make sure that you have the authority to do what you need to do. Okay? And if you don't have authority, go and demand it, or find a way to get that authority. Okay? You always got to balance this, or else you're going to end up as a frustrated leader, having a good leader deteriorate, or be frustrated. Okay, so this next one here is the principles of leadership. You all have the card in front of you. What I'm going to do is...
I have a question regarding the previous.
Sure.
Leadership is these three components or ingredients, and those three cases you have mentioned where one of these components is taking much more than it's supposed to be and the other two is not.
Mm-hmm.
But what if there are two who are taking most of the share and the third one is, regardless which one is the third?
Sure, so take the situation maybe where you have a lot of authority in your job and you've taken a lot of responsibility, say, I'll get that done, but you don't have the competency to do it. Well, that's going to deteriorate into a bad leadership situation. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm not sure if that has a specific name, but that probably is something like insufficient training or something like that effect. So yes, if two of these things are out of whack, not just one of them, you can get into bad leadership situations. Just like that example, right? Too much authority, you have a lot of authority, you've taken a lot of responsibility, but you can't follow through on what your promises are.
But what if it's competency, let's say, authority or competency and responsibility? Just wondering.
If what?
If these two, one of them is competency.
If you have a lot of competency?
Yes, and let's say responsibility.
Like yeah. So certainly if you, so this is a frustrated leader, right? If you have a lot of competency and you've taken a lot of authority, or not authority, but you've taken a lot of responsibility, right? But you don't have the authority to act, you're going to be really frustrated in that situation, right? Because you really want to go, you have a lot of competency, you say, yeah, I'll be accountable for this, I'll do this, no problem, but then you're not given the authority to do it. You're going to be frustrated.
Totally.
Okay. So, we're going to talk about some principles of leadership. The ones I've given you are the ones that I've compiled a couple of years ago. They're the best ones that I could find and synthesize from all the research that I did in leadership. What I encourage you to do is to find your own principles of leadership and add them to the list. Okay. Do you have one? No, I don't. Is there an extra one there? You got a whole pile there. Yeah, just pass them around. So, these are good starting points. Use them. These are the ones that I use. And add your own if you think that one's appropriate. Okay, so we'll go over these in turn. Okay? The first is, of course, achieve professional competence and pursue self-improvement. Going right back to the CAR model, making sure we have the competency to lead in whatever we're doing. Okay? Fairly self-explanatory. The next one is lead by example, model the way, and teach. Okay? You'll learn a lot by teaching people. That's something I've learned over the years. And you should always lead by example. If you're going to expect someone else to do something, you should do it yourself. Okay? Obviously, you can't always do everything that your followers do. Okay? You can't extend yourself that far, but you should certainly try and be able to. And if you expect people to work a lot, you got to work a lot too. Okay? You can't just sit back and tell people what to do. You can, but that's not going to be as good of a leadership situation. Another thing you want to do is build teamwork and cohesion. Okay, teamwork, cohesion, social, and task cohesion. Okay, getting people to feel socially connected to one another and getting people to work well with one another. Okay, number 4 is keep the team informed of the mission and the changing situation and explain events and decisions. I'm sure some of you have been in situations before where people have made decisions at a higher level than you and it's never explained. Okay, so your boss makes a decision, your company makes a decision, and you're kind of left out of the loop. Okay? You have to explain any event and decision that impacts people to the people who are impacted, to all the stakeholders. Okay? And of course, keeping people informed will help build a bit of cohesion as well. Okay? Communicate effectively. Pretty self-explanatory. Show self-confidence and inspire self-confidence in others. And 7, know your team, listen to them, support their ideas, initiative, and personal goals. Okay? That's going back to the transformational leadership. Okay?